Many years ago now, my brother did something that you might consider to be pretty amazing. He was riding in a car behind another vehicle. Some of his friends were in the vehicle in front of him. They were driving on some country roads, and the car that was in front of them, full of his friends, they swerved a little bit too far to the side onto the gravel, and when they got to the gravel, they started spinning out, and the car ended up tumbling down into the ditch in front of them. So the car that my brother was in, they pulled over the side of the road. They ran down to the ditch. They wanted to help, but the doors were stuck. They wanted to get them out of there, but they weren't able to open the doors. And so my brother did something. He ripped one of the doors off of the car. One of those adrenaline rushes that allows you to do incredible things. He ripped the door right off, and everybody was able to come out, and everybody was fine, and it was all good. But when my brother told me that, it's like one of those things where you're like, did that really happen? You're at least a little skeptical, but there were other people there, other people who witnessed it, and because there were other people who witnessed it and who could verify this really did happen, then and you're a bit more confident when you hear something like that, if there are multiple people who witnessed it. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, God told the Israelites that he was calling a witness regarding something that he had promised them. God had promised them life, that they were going to make it, that the promised land was going to be theirs, that God was going to be with them, that they were going to be okay. And the witness that he called was all of heaven and all of earth. All of heaven and earth. He said, I'm calling heaven and earth as a witness that I have given you life. And the reason he was calling a witness was because for the Israelites, it was sometimes going to be hard to believe that they were going to end up with it. For two reasons. Firstly, because of the challenges of life. The enemies around them, the difficulties of life, the times when life would just seem to get the best of them. It would be hard sometimes to believe that things were going to end well. And then secondly, because of themselves. Because they would know God's law, and they would also know very clearly sometimes just how good they were at not keeping it. They would wonder if God would even want anything to do with them. And so God called a witness, all of heaven and all of earth, to remind them. It's like, yeah, you can trust it when I say this. I can call a lot of witnesses to verify that I'm giving you this. God has done the same thing for us, or at least he could call witnesses to verify the same thing for us, that God has given you life. Remember, all of heaven witnessed the really hard day when God gave it to us so graciously. When God hung on a cross, they witnessed God showing his perfect determination to love you no matter what it would cost. They witnessed, maybe in silence, with tremendous sorrow, as none of the angels were allowed to help him. They just had to stay put and not do the one thing that God had created them to do. To be there for someone else. There was no one there for God that day. Not as the Son of God hung on the cross, showing all of heaven and earth just how much he means it when he says that you will never have to feel that alone or discouraged or defeated. And of course, he wasn't defeated. It was in that defeat that Jesus earned the greatest victory of all. Not for him, but for you. The victory of life. A life stronger than death. A life stronger than Satan or any temptation. A life that God has given to you. And that you can remember when life starts getting the best of you. When life is hard, or this world takes something or someone away from you that breaks your heart. Your life is still coming. God has still given you life. You have the right to remember it when you are the reason you doubt that it's coming. When you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see. Or you recall things from your past that still fill you with regret or shame, or you're living with the consequences of past decisions that make it hard to forget the times when you knew God's law and you walked away. At those times, remember that God calls a witness. All of heaven and all of earth witnessed that God will always love you and always be there for you. Always. You have life. You have life. The best kind of life is exactly what God has promised you. Rest well tonight, my friends.